Money Monday, a segment here at 4 o'clock where we talk about easy-to-understand ways to navigate our finances. Here to help us out is financial expert Paul Hood from Hood CPAs. Paul, we want to start with inflation today. Everybody is certainly talking about it with the cost of gas, groceries, food soaring. How can all of us better prepare for the long-term and short-term impacts of inflation?
Well, unfortunately, what inflation means is the devaluing of our dollar, which means that what our dollar would have bought 6 months ago won't buy today. So, a lot of families are still feeling the pressure from COVID and being laid off or businesses shut down. And so it's a tough situation. You just got to, it's very, very important, even more important now to budget, to control where your money's going, to really be diligent on what you're spending. But you also should, and I'm an employer and I have no problem with my staff coming to me. And, if you haven't had a raise in a couple of years, maybe it's time to go look or ask at work how much, if you can do additional work to get additional pay. Somehow we have to get more money in or we have to shrink the money's going out. And I think this is going to be here with us for a little while. The government doesn't seem to be making any changes, any positive changes towards correcting it. And we don't really know. We're at the whim. I mean, inflation, whether we like to admit it or the government likes to admit it or not, is really driven by their spending patterns. They're printing money that devalues the dollar. And then the scarcity side of things, just supply and demand. So things are more and more expensive. So it's just tough. There's no real easy answer, Brian.
All right, Paul, I want to get to a couple of viewer questions that came in over this past week. We'll start with Terry. Terry says, my elderly mother was in the process of selling her home when she passed away. The money for her house was distributed to my bank account as her successor trustee. What is this going to do to my taxes for 2022?
So when somebody dies, under current law, you get what's called a step up in basis. So it doesn't matter what mom paid for the house. It matters. It's at the value of the house at her death is the daughter's, is basically what she's deemed to have paid for the house. So if she paid, mom paid $50,000 for the house and it sold for $200,000, and then so the value then can be assumed, because it's sold so close to her death, to be equal to what it was worth at her date of death. So only the taxable portion is from date of death to when they sell it. So in this case, she shouldn't have to pay any taxes.
Robin says, I'm expanding business into Texas. What do we need to do or be aware of for tax purposes?
Well, Texas, which is where I'm sitting right now, Texas doesn't have a state income tax. However, what you have to look at is if you're an entity, an LLC or corporation, you have to register as a foreign entity in that state in Texas. And Texas has a franchise tax return. So you have to spread your income and profit or loss between the two states, but you have to register to do business in that state.
All right, good stuff today, Paul. And thank you for joining us from Texas. I believe you are in Austin, is that correct?
I am. It's about 15 degrees warmer here than it is. It's
all right, my friend. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us remotely. And if you're watching right now, you have a financial question you would like for us to chat about next Monday, you can send in your question right now to moneymonday@griffin.news.